Hello dear students, today in this video we will continue the chapter birth which we started in our previous video, and today we will continue the same chapter from page number 67. So let's start. So as we know, there was the case of baby birth. So Susan, the wife of Joe Morgan, requested midwife, nurse, who was also present with her, not to give her anesthesia, and told that it will cast negative impact on the baby. So the same thing was told to the doctor, and doctor said it will not put any negative impact on them, on mother or baby. So it will be all right. Give some anesthesia, okay? So what is then? Then after some time, the nurse who was present with her, with Susan, calls doctor from upstairs, and doctor looks from the fireplace where he was sitting, and at the same time he also glanced at the clock which struck at 3:30, and the doctor rose up and went into the bedroom where Mrs. Joe was lying, and then he thought that now his work started, okay? And then and then an hour elapsed. So after an hour the baby was born, and the baby was born with the first light ray of the day. But there was one bad thing, that was the baby was completely or almost lifeless. So this was a problem for the doctor and the family members also. Then the doctor, having the baby in his arms, and the face of the doctor was completely horrified, he looked at the baby and the other members to whom he promised to do this case, or to make the birth of the baby carefully and safely. So at that time doctor was completely stunned, as the child was making no noise, no motion, and the child was not shaking his limbs. And now the doctor was in dilemma what to do, to whom he must save first: to mother, who was losing his strength every minute and was on the edge of death, or to the baby who was almost dead. So at that time he performed actions without thinking anything. He gave the baby to the midwife and started treatment of the mother, who was lying on the bed unconsciously and was losing her strength every minute. So quickly he took a syringe and filled hypodermic injection, and he gave that injection to the lady, to Mrs. Morgan. And then after some time, mother who gave birth to the baby right now stored her strength, and then doctor observed that the mother was safe to leave her, and then the doctor put his attention towards the baby and asked the nurse, where is the child? Where is the child? At this, the midwife answered, she had placed the child under the bed, beneath the bed, as she considered the child was dead. When the midwife or the nurse said that she had placed the baby under the bed, without wasting even a nanosecond, the doctor knelt down and took out that baby from Sudan newspapers. Sudan newspapers means wet newspapers, who was placed below the bed. And then he looked at the boy. The body of the boy was warm and the skin color was white, fair color and soft. And the skin was completely soft, very soft. But the baby was making no movement. Quickly, doctor slashed the cord, means जो बेबी का कॉर्ड था जिसको आप नाड़ बोलते हैं हिंदी में, दैट वाज स्लाइड आउट, दैट वाज कट, उसको काट दिया गया. And that was lying on the ground motionlessly as we cut some twigs from the main branch. And the skin and texture of the skin of the baby was very good, beautiful, lovely texture, smooth skin and tender hands and legs. As I mentioned, the baby was almost lifeless, so his head was lolling in every direction on his neck, and legs and hands of the baby seemed that they had no bones in them. Okay, so suddenly doctor applied a new method which he thought, and which he had seen in his life, and which was applied by a Samaritan. Samaritan means a people who do good things for others from his own will. Okay, then he asked the nurse to bring two containers, one filled with hot water and one filled with cold water. At this, the midwife said, "But doctor," the doctor at this frowned at the midwife. "No if, no but, just do what I asked you." The doctor shouted at the midwife and the nurse, "Do it quickly." And then he snatched a blanket, he laid the child upon it. Okay, then he wrapped the child in a blanket, and he knew it very well that the body of the child was warm and the skin was fair colored. It means it is the case of lack of oxygen. The baby was not getting enough oxygen in it, and there was more than needed quantity of carbon dioxide in his blood. That's why he was not doing any motion. And then when the doctor got those two containers, one filled with cold water and one filled with hot water. Then he started his activities just like a juggler. He dipped the baby in cold water and then in hot water, then in cold water, then in hot water. He had done that activity for 15 minutes, but he did not get the response. The baby did not show any movement. So the doctor was turning desperate, and everyone of the family member of Joe Morgan was also turning desperate or hopeless, as the mother-in-law of Joe was expecting to have a grandson. In the same way, wife of Morgan was also thinking to have a son after 20 years of her marriage. So all those thoughts, all those longings were disappearing slowly and slowly. And the nurse who was also present there, she took the support of the ball of the room and put her hands around her neck. At that time, all the efforts which were made by the doctor were seeming to be futile, useless. And after some time, the doctor the doctor asked the nurse, it is stillborn. It is stillborn. It means the baby is still alive. What you have to do, for God's sake, you must rub the baby on his back. Is it clear? Then she started rubbing on his back for half an hour, but the efforts turned no fruitful. All those efforts were gone in vain. Okay. Then the doctor decided to make his last effort. And in his last effort, doctor had taken a towel and he started rubbing the rough towel against the chest of the baby with his hand. And then this trick worked. Just like a miracle, the baby started movements. Now, the baby turned alive. His limbs, hands, and legs now were moving. He started the movement of his legs and hands, and the head was not lolling on his head now, and he was also breathing in and breathe out. And then after some time, he started crying. At that moment, everybody present there, every member of the family of Joe, turned very happy. And the nurse, who was that time sobbing, he whispered a prayer, dear Father in heaven, it is come alive. The nurse whispered a prayer to God that the baby now turned alive. So dear students, in this video, today only this much. In next class, we will continue the chapter, and hopefully in next class it will be completed. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.